Well, good evening, everybody. It is Tuesday, September 13th, 2022. It's 8 p.m. Eastern Daylight Savings Time. This is the Fakeologist speaking. This is the Fakeologist Show. This is the Tuesday of the week, as you all know, that can read a calendar. And on Tuesdays, we have the one, the only, the irrepressible, the always entertaining Uncle Vigilante. Hello, Uncle V.
Hola, amigo. This is Taco Bell.
Wow.
May I have your order?
And Uncle V brought, as it seems it's becoming a habit, he brought a guest himself. So it's sort of a tag team. So Uncle V, introduce your
Yeah,
special guest, please.
yeah, absolutely. Hello, everyone out there. First of all, hello, Monkman in the chat. Good to see you. I was thinking about you today, Monkman. I'm like, I missed that guy. I think you're doing a lot of work on your homestead or something. But what up, my friend? So yes, in another Telegram group that I have been fortunate enough to be invited into. Shout out Dark Star, thank you. I started to read and get to know this gentleman who's joining me tonight, Chris Lundy. And I didn't know his backstory until this week. And he started sharing some information. And then I saw a video that we're going to share we're going to share with everyone tonight. Two videos actually that I edited together. And my jaw dropped. I'm like, holy cow. This dude has one hell of a story, and he's fighting one hell of a battle. Chris Lundy, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Uncle V, and thank you for having me on.
You bet. And are you familiar with the Fakeologist, Aburrito?
I cannot say that I am. Not really. I mean, I've been diving into rabbit holes. I mean, I don't give. Here's things like, sometimes with
you're coming in and
warbling a bit. Your internet's warbling a bit. And could you lean a little closer to the mic, please?
Hey, I think that
get there.
I think the Chrome version you downloaded isn't chroming up. We heard like every 10th word.
Yeah, keep trying, Chris.
Are you there?
And now he was on the pre-show. He sounded just fine.
Yeah, I don't know what's
now I can hear you.
Okay, yeah.
The problem is Wi-Fi. Are you on Wi-Fi?
Yeah, I'm on Wi-Fi, but I got pretty decent bandwidth. So I probably just need to switch to a different frequency.
You sound good now.
Yeah.
Okay.
I probably just need. Yeah, I'm good.
Well, anyway, regarding Ab, he is the curator of Fakotube.com. That's his website. Okay. And also the blog Fakeologist.com. And he talk about rabbit holes. He is the master rabbit holer, has been for, a dozen years or more, Ab. And I recommend everybody, please go to Fakotube.com and join it. It is his version of YouTube, except it's where all the videos that get banned go to live forever. So
which is just about every show I do.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. Which you're providing an amazing service to everyone. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
And everyone, Chris has battled an extreme form of cancer. And Chris, I'm just going to open up the floor to you to be able to give your backstory, and you let us know when you think it's appropriate to be able to share the video, because I think it was just excellent and it's a good visual.
Yeah, that's fine. Well, I'm 43 years old and I was born in 1979 in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and that was a really hot summer, and I came into this world, I wasn't entirely right. I had this this lesion on my forehead that perplexed the doctors. So they had a look at it and they diagnosed me with a sebaceous nevi. And at the time, in the Rockefeller establishment medical literature, sebaceous nevi was a benign mark. It didn't have any disease presentation of any kind. That was the literature. So there was nothing to worry about. Well, in my case, there was something to worry about, because within the first 2 years of my life, my eyes were getting dragged to opposite sides of my head. The doctors didn't know what was happening. So I had to go have eye surgery to correct this disassociative deviation. My eyes were half cross-eyed and half, pointing in whatever direction you choose.
Excuse me,
Wow.
Chris. Can
So
I ask you? Sorry, what age was this diagnosis, and
the
what?
age of two, the age of 2 years old.
Okay. Did you have childhood vaccinations?
I'm pretty sure that I did not.
Oh, that's
My mother
important.
was very particular about that, as well as particular about not having me modified in certain ways that happen in hospitals back when hospitals actually respected patient decisions.
Okay.
And yeah, so she was very particular about not injecting me with things that weren't
Oh, that's
necessary.
really great.
Good on her.
Which I'm thankful for, because in the compromised state I was in at the time that nobody knew about, there was going to be an issue. So they did eye surgery on me when I was 2 years old, and this was like 1981, like the summer of 1981. And yeah, it went fine. I woke up afterwards and the Looney Tunes were on or whatever, and my mother brought me a glass of orange juice, and then I passed out again, and the next thing I remember, I was at home. So it was a while ago, but I was thinking, okay, things are fine now. But then I had all of these issues with I had a wart on the the ring finger of my right hand. It was pretty sizable. It was about the size of a dime. And then I went in to have that frozen off, and that took several treatments, and then eventually just fell off. And then I had all these other gradual problems over time, like balanitis, which is inflammation of the foreskin that's really painful, especially in children. It's a fungal infection. And then I had to go on this antifungal diet in the late 1980s. And there's certain confidential aspects of my life in the 1990s I don't want to talk about here. But what I will say is that throughout the 1990s, I experienced more symptoms of cancer that I was not aware were symptoms of cancer, such as excessive thirst, unexplained tiredness, and then I started to have problems with my posture. So things just kind of gradually got worse and worse.
Jesus.
I mean, I was getting stronger, but I couldn't do a push-up unassisted until I kind of had to have training. There's a problem with my body's motor function. In terms of being able to move around, there was an issue. No matter how hard I worked, I could not get ripped by the rest of the guys in gym class. I was working just as hard as they were. And I was like, what the hell is going on here? So it was always just this question mark in my mind. And then, things happened to me over time. Like I would get dry scalp, and I'd have scabs on my head, and then my, head just kind of got larger over time. And, for a while I thought I was all right, for better part of things. And, sometimes I get itchy legs, but, I cleaned up my diet. I started drinking kombucha on the regular. I, discovered, Bragg apple cider vinegar, and of course, some other, urban spice folks like North American Urban Spice, Dr. Cass Ingram. I did all the research I could, because, I was like, okay, I'm going to stop drinking alcohol, stop doing this, and this. And I just wasn't getting anywhere. And then you fast forward to the age of 40, which is 2020. The previous 2 years, I had issues that I thought were related to infection, but they were not. They were presentations of cancer that were appearing everywhere in my body, head to toe. And it got so bad at one point that, the worst time in 2020 was when I started to have outbreaks that were symptomatic of a very severe, what looked like, those horrible, staph infections or whatever. It looked like that. That was the presentation. And then I went into a specialist in Atlanta, Georgia, who's a friend of I was a friend of his family, and I got referred to his practice by his daughter, and he gave me some vitamin C injections, got me squared away, and I was feeling better. He got me some stuff from a natural pharmacy I had a contract with, and things seemed to be getting better, and I was able to exercise, but I still had all these issues with my flexibility. I still had issues with my energy levels tanking. I mean, I was riding my bicycle every day in a picture I sent to Uncle V, and I still kind of looked like a cabin hermit. I just didn't look healthy, and my energy levels were constantly tanking. My head was huge. And then one day this year, in March of this year, I almost died. Like I had something happened to where like the tumor network that it hemorrhaged, and it hemorrhaged so hard that my heart rate went up to 180 beats a minute. I couldn't hear and I couldn't see, and I reached for a bottle of N-acetylcysteine. I mega dosed like 10 grams and drank like half a gallon of water in one go, and then I got my breath back, and then my heart rate started to decrease, and I'm glad I had that next to my bedside. I kept it there in case of emergency because of all the electromagnetic radiation problems that are happening all over the world that I'm not going to go into in too much detail here. But so there was that, and then I sat back down, and some parts of the story are kind of woo-woo stuff, so I'm going to go into more of the clinical aspects of what happened to me and the actual things that I discovered in the 3D. So I had my wart abater, and I was having issues with warts in several areas of my body. So I was like, okay, I'm going to focus on one of them around my root chakra area. It's like, okay, I'm just going to take one half of the wart abater on there, and I'm going to press the middle finger of my left hand on the other side. I'm just going to hold it there as long as I can bear it. And I stayed in that position for about, I don't know, an hour and a half or a ridiculous period of time until my body felt like it had been struck by lightning.
What is a water
current?
What do you?
A wart abater, it's a company in Florida makes it. It's wartabater.com is the website.
How do you spell that?
WARTABATER.com.
Wart abater. Oh, okay. Electronic wart remover. Okay.
Yeah, electronic wart remover. I had this thing like back in 2016. I noticed some growths were appearing on my arms after I'd get in from like marathon bike rides. I was running 30 miles a day, 6 days a week in Atlanta. I was like an athletic level physical condition and dying of cancer and didn't even know what was happening to me. So that's the hard I was going. But I had this tool, but I didn't know that it was capable of doing what I was eventually going to discover. And what happened is I had so much cancer in my body, which was basically spinal and brain lymphoma that spread throughout every bone in my body, inside and out, literally. I was basically wrapped up like a maypole. And I was able to embed the energy from this wart abater, the electrical current, in my hand to such an extent that if I took one part of my body that had both that energy signature and cancer present, if I pressed the middle finger of my left hand by some miracle on any other body that had what I discovered were tumors present, it started coagulating and disintegrating them on contact. I was like, holy blankety blank, wow. What the hell did I just discover? I was like, I just found a way to embed a cancer-killing energy signature in my bare hands, but it's only because I have this type of cancer that spread everywhere, this lymphoma, because it was omnipresent, right? So It was a blessing and a curse at the same time, and it was extremely painful whenever I got it. It was like it was like lighting yourself on fire from the inside at first. That's how painful it was, because it was everywhere, and things started coming out of me. I had gastrointestinal cancer for days, and then within a few weeks it was all gone, and that was just with me touching myself. So then I didn't really have any evidence for that. So I was like, okay, I need to find something practical, because I can only do this with one finger, and at some point it's just going to die out like a matchstick or something. So it's like, how can I amplify this signal? And I was like, okay, well, silver is non-toxic to the human body. I've got medical grade silver. I've got some Canadian silver maple leaves. I know that silver ionization is used in the treatment of bone disorders. Let me give this a shot. And so I stacked up 4 of the coins like right above my navel, and then I placed the electrical lead of the water baiter on it and turned it into the high position, and the results were shocking. Basically, what happened within a second, my body shook so violently, and I was in a prone position on my back in my bedroom on my bed. My body shook so violently, I could barely hold the tool, and I felt this flexion and contraction of a tumor that was at the top of my crown chakra, which was at the very top of my head, that snaked down my neck, went through my lungs, down the side of my back, the left side of my back, across my pubic bone, and all the way down to the big toe of my right foot. And that's the first thing that I felt, and I was like, oh my God. And it gradually got smaller and smaller and smaller. My head started to decrease in size to where the cranial shape of my head was changing, literally. This is the most painful thing you'll ever experience if you're in this state, because you're literally having to hold this stuff up to you and disintegrate tumors that are literally as hard as bones. It's like exercising the best way I can describe it is it's like exercising an anaconda made of stone from inside of your skeletal system and disintegrating it. But eventually the pain subsides, and then it just kind of becomes this, like, I don't know, St. Elmo's fire of extreme glory, because I was like, how on earth is this possible? It's like, did I just find out one of the secrets of Westworld? Am I really a Westworld robot and I found out a secret I wasn't supposed to know? So I was like, what the hell? And I was pointed to some research that was done by an electrical medicine specialist. His name is Dr. Robert Otto Becker, and he was the head of orthopedics at SUNY Downstate for a very long time in New York State. And I brought up an article that I found on silvermedicine.org that's dedicated to Robert O. Becker. I provided it to Uncle V. He can post it if he wants to. And but it really highlights the scientific research of him, and where Dr. Becker successfully proved the tissue healing properties of silver ions through laboratory studies and in-body experimentation. And a couple of highlights from this are, in 1972, he was ready to begin experimentation with electrical stimulation for both in humans in cases where broken bones are known as non-unions, refuse to heal. If you have a non-union, whenever you have a bone break, you're in big trouble, especially if it can't be screwed in or if you can't afford surgery. You're talking about permanent physical disfigurement and premature arthritis, persistent infections, and high risk of osteomyelitis, which is a potentially lethal bone infection. So what Dr. Becker chose to use was silver as the target metal for his ionization experiments, because he believed silver was less likely to chemically react with tissues and believed that silver would transmit the electric current most efficiently. And testing conducted by his team demonstrated that the positive pole of a silver electrode in a low current circuit would kill all forms of bacteria within a half-inch radius. All forms of bacteria, without exception. Okay.
Is that a good thing?
Yeah,
that's a very good thing. That literally means goodbye flesh-eating bacteria, goodbye all these superbugs, goodbye all this propaganda, right? Goodbye fear-mongering for good.
Because
stuff like
because how does it determine between good and bad bacteria? Because we need bacteria to survive. That's the question.
Yeah, and that's a very good question. So Dr. Becker eventually concluded that while he used up to 5 different metals, so they're not listed in this particular page of what all 5 of them were. One of them was platinum, another one was silver. He may use copper and a couple of others, I'm not sure. But he concluded all 5 metals that were used, that were tested in this ionization experiment, stopped the growth of all bacteria. The current required for all types except for silver required dangerously high levels of current. Basically, you wouldn't be able to use it. It just wasn't electrically efficient. And Dr. Becker hypothesized that the other metals killed bacteria by poisoning the bacteria and the normal cells. What he eventually concluded and confirmed in subsequent experiments is that the silver deactivated or killed all bacteria with no side effects and small, safe levels of current. because silver is the strongest conductor of electricity on Earth of all metals. It's stronger than copper and gold. So, and it's a very small fraction of the price of gold. It's crazy, silly, stupid, cheap. Why you're not buying silver? Do it.
Well, it's been
But
at the same price for 30 years. So if you want to not grow your investment,
this wasn't a growth of investment. This was saving
oh,
my own. You know what?
I see.
This was me having a small stack of silver that was
Yeah.
medical grade, and I just happened to
Oh,
have some medical grade silver laying around, which is 99.99% pure.
but did
4
you ever
nines
go
is
to
the
the
standard.
regular doctor for your what and get diagnosed?
Yeah, I did, and I got diagnosed with skin cancer, a topical skin cancer.
What
But
year was that? How old were you at that point?
it was in 2021. I was
Mhm.
41, 42 years old, something like that.
Because the problem with because we don't know your health, we don't know how you live, we don't know what you eat, we don't know what you're exposed to chemically.
Hmm.
Because Uncle Odd, I think maybe in particular, am a big believer in the terrain theory. And the other part of that I believe is that there's only three ways to get sick, and I could be wrong, but it's just sort of my belief: injury, malnutrition, and toxicity. So I'm just
What?
wondering. I'm trying to figure out what, if anything, you figured out may be causing this expression on your skin that's very uh, wart-like or cancer-like? Did you ever
Well, I mean, what I'm basing it upon is the actual physical transformation of my body, because
Mhm,
every area of my body has shrunk. I had flat feet. I now
right,
have arched feet. I no longer have fallen arches. They're gone,
mhm,
literally gone. It wiped it all out. So that's one change. The size of my head has gotten smaller to the point of where my glasses barely fit now.
mm.
So
Are you saying
that's
that
not.
you had this extreme growth on your skin, a cancerous type
Uh,
growth that made you expand
I,
and
I
be
I
very
had
bloated?
well, not necessarily, but what I had is lymphoma that was woven into and out of my entire bone structure, inside and outside my muscular tissue,
Mhm.
inside my connective joints, all around my brain, my throat. It was everywhere. It was head to
So you
toe.
were you very
So
puffy?
it's completely yeah, at the time I was.
Mm,
I struggled with weight even while I was physically active.
right.
I would have yo-yo periods, and
So something was
look,
going wrong internally.
yeah, and
Yeah.
I had gastrointestinal cancer. I had brain cancer, throat cancer. You know, it was everywhere. It was wrapped around every organ in my body. And when I first
Did you have
started
any
healing,
idea what it could be? What was causing your body to react like this? Was there any kind of poisoning in and around you?
I mean, we've all been exposed to poisons. I mean, I have unknowingly consumed GMOs. I consumed heavy amounts of alcohol for years. In my younger years, I had to make some very serious changes to my lifestyle.
Okay.
Uh, and I got better after I made those lifestyle changes. But even after I did that, when I was like eating very healthy, eating lots of soup and salad, kombucha, growing my own food, and still getting worse, I'm like, okay, this, clearly I'm, cleaning my diet up has not worked. And I tried every diet there was, and nothing worked. Nothing.
Or maybe it was working and you would have been way worse had you not done that. Because
Yeah.
you can't be your own control of your own experiment. That's the problem. You wouldn't.
Yeah. That's a good point. But really, the only barometer for me is like I needed to see real results, and then I found out the cause of it all after spinal lymphoma started to disintegrate, and I was able to stand up straight for the first time in my life without pain. Where I was
Mm.
able to get 90% range of motion without stopping or straining my back. I had all of these issues with lower back pain throughout most of my life, and X-rays showed scoliosis, and I was given a scoliosis diagnosis. But when I got my diagnosis, initially it was only looking at the topical stuff, but when I was going through some of my historical radiographs that I had done when I was like a teenager, the spinal lymphoma was actually showing up on those X-rays, and they didn't diagnose it. Completely missed it. So after I just kind of went back in time and examined some of these photographs. I'm glad I kept them. I don't know where that specific one is. I'll have to call my chiropractor, who lives in a different state than me. But that's how I came across that. I mean, this has been with me since day one, and it makes perfect sense because I had these problems with my optic chiasm. I lost vision gradually over time. I had to get stronger and stronger glasses over time. And my vision has improved, gentlemen, since I started this treatment. Like, it's improved every aspect of my health in dramatic ways that are completely indescribable. I was only able to stay up 6 hours a day, like less than about 6 months ago. And now I'm up 16, 17 hours a day without missing a beat.
Wow.
So
Let's take the opportunity to watch the video because I think that will be helpful.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. Here we go. Cue the video.
And this is what it looked like in the present day. So I'm not sure if you've seen the original photos, but you may notice this little thing on my chest here. That is, I actually did a treatment like right around my sternum, and that's how I was clearing a lot of the tumors out of my throat. Because I was having difficulty singing whenever I was doing music. Now I can hold notes. I also had tumors wrapped around my ear canal. I had them around my jawline. I still have them there, but you might be able to tell how much narrower my head is and how much fuller my hair is. Like the entire top and sides of my head were covered in gray hair, and now they aren't. So, and also the glasses that I'm wearing were fitted for me, and they came all the way out to the edge of my head, and now it's like, you can kind of see through that stage. The amount of my glasses are too large, but I have a larger field of vision, so I guess it's not a big deal. But yeah, this is me in the present day. I just got done in the garden with morning harvesting. Got some cherry tomatoes, and I got some cayenne peppers and some other volunteer peppers of various types. Just made myself a breakfast salad, and just working on canning work and getting that stuff done. I'll send you some videos of the garden at some point, but compared to the original picture that you saw of me that was taken in May 2020, that's what it looked like before I started the treatment, like in March, April this year.
Do we have that picture, by the way, Chris? Or do you want to show it?
I sent it to Uncle V. Uncle V, do you have that? It should be in our private group.
I don't see it. I've been looking. I'm looking. Oh, okay. If it's there, I'm not going to be able to access it here.
Okay, well, maybe we'll bring it up later. That would be a good
Yeah.
comparison. That would be interesting.
Yeah, let's keep. Yeah,
I mean, like up here,
send it to me in Telegram. Well, actually, send
for about 2 inches of that space, and now it's just coming right out. And as I started doing the treatment, gobs of hair just started appearing out of nowhere. They were basically being held under by these tumors. And I think that's one of the causes of so-called male pattern baldness is really brain cancer, like quite literally. And that's what it did. That's what it did to me. That was the presentation. So that's it for now. Hello, Paul. Hey, man. So you asked me to do a video. I'm a little sneezy right now. Excuse me. But this is the Med Massager. This is what I've been using for my foot massages when I do my silver treatments in the treatment room. Interestingly, a lot of reality decoding happening here. So I put this into position 6, and interestingly, there's 6 points in this little fun star, but position 6 seems to knock loose all of the stuff that's wrapped around this little snake. It's wrapped around this column here.
Caduceus.
Yeah, it's like wrapped around my spinal cord. Very interesting. But so what I do is I put this into, let me focus this, yes. There we go. And so I'll put this into position 6, like so. And I will put my feet on it. And before I put my feet on it, I should show you my feet. So like here you can see these little red dots and stuff. These appear while I'm doing treatments on other areas of my body because I've got tumors wrapped around my toes and on the bottoms of my feet. I had fallen arches, but those fallen arches weren't fallen arches. They were tumors at the bottoms of my feet. You can't see it quite as good on this foot, but like this here, I mean, I've been outside, so I got dirt here. But that is remnants of a tumor. This is one giant tumor stuck to the bottom of my heel that I'm still pulling out of there. So like all this stuff, like, this wasn't just like a fungal infection. These are tumors wrapped around the bones of my feet, and you can see them in other places too. So I just put these down like so, and you can see involuntary movement. Look at that. So that is a tumor that's coagulating. So even using this coagulates the tumors. And then what I do is I take my silver, a stack of 4 Canadian silver maple leaves here, and I will do this one of 2 ways. Now just so you can see, this is tumor stuff that's come to the surface. This used to look a lot worse, and it was much more widespread amongst a wider area, but it just gradually whittles away over time during the treatment. And this used to be much larger too. It had a giant scab over it, and now it's starting to whittle away. But what I do is I just cover this over, because like all this adipose tissue, this is all tumors, man. It's not fat, it's tumors. So I'll cover this up, and I'll stack the coins here. Usually I'll put them underneath me these days because it's easier for me to just sit on the coins than it is for me to take the water baiter, put the water baiter into the high position. Probably need to replace the battery soon. And then I will take the electrical lead like so and go for it. And that's it. Now, you're probably not going to be able to see much here because, you feel it inside of you more than you see it on the surface. And it's safe to do this. It doesn't like burn your clothing or anything. But, the more coins you use, the better. And, it's kind of difficult for me to do this video with everything attached in the way that it's attached. But you can see here, especially along this toe, that there's this curvature there. That's a tumor. And all this stuff's just getting whittled away little by little. It's wrapped around me like crazy. It was inside my bones, outside my bones, everywhere. This right here that you can see, I had an injury when I was like 25 or 26 years old. And I had this like infection underneath this big toe, and I had to go to a podiatrist and have some sort of chemical injected in the sides of this big toe to stop the growth of this nail, because it was coming into contact with the skin and reopening a wound. And that's how that healed. But this is actually a tumor here. So that's what happened. It's like that's why all this stuff was coming in around my toes, and why I had ingrown toenails was because they were growing into tumors. So that's where I'm at right now. And that's where I'm at.
Okay.
Hey, Ab, I sent you the picture in
Yeah,
Telegram.
I see it. I'll bring it up.
Show. It's pretty amazing.
I'll bring it up. You can keep talking if you want, Chris.
Yeah, so I'll describe the pictures. The picture on the left of me was taken in May 2020, but it was very comparable to what I looked like, maybe even slightly better, sadly, than what I looked like when I was in the worst throes of my illness, March of this year, February, March of this year. And the one on the right is after about...
We're looking at the first one with your bald head right now.
Yeah, that's... Yeah. I mean, as you can see, there's a pretty decent amount of inflammation around my head. Lots of inflammation around my head and neck. My arms are 2 different circumferences.
Yeah, can
my
you
body's
zoom in?
kind of hunched over. Huh?
Ab, can you zoom in on that? I mean, just take a look. I mean, because you guys saw his glasses, what he was saying. I mean, and look at the size of his arms. It's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like you couldn't see through my glasses and see the sides of my head.
Yeah.
You couldn't do that. Now you can. That's how much smaller my head is, because that's how many tumors it's zapped out. Of course, I've been doing this treatment for about 5 months now, so the changes have been extreme, but that's how far down the line I was, and that's how
That's
much
crazy.
So how did you treat your head?
Yeah, so basically I moved... I've been studying energy healing, and I came across somebody that gave me some basic education on it, and I started to place these... I started to place the silver and the water baiter on each of those chakras. My crown chakra, third eye, heart chakra, throat chakra, solar plexus chakra, every single one of them. And and that's kind of how, because they were, from my interpretation of the literature, the different frequency response zones for different areas of the body. So, I would do my throat chakra or slightly below my throat chakra, like around my sternum, to clear out my throat, and then suddenly I can breathe deep, and I can breathe in for 30 seconds without stopping, and I have range of motion again, and all these wonderful things start to happen. And some of it's painful, and some of it's huge rushes of blood, better blood flow, lower blood pressure, and improved virility, less anger problems, better emotional stability. The list goes on. So I was mentally and physically as well as spiritually feeling better, but the transition was extreme, and
Is
I
this
didn't
a
know if I
current?
was.
Can you see the screen, Chris? Is this a current picture of you? Is that
That picture, the one on the right with me without the shirt on, was taken on my birthday this year. My 43rd birthday was on July 29th. So that was taken less than 2 months ago. The video that you saw with my face was taken less than a week ago.
So this you have an hourglass figure. Is this all still the tumors down here around your navel?
Yeah,
Around your
yeah,
uterus?
yeah. Those are all tumors. That's why you can't see my hip bones, because I weigh 173 pounds in this picture.
Yeah.
I'm 6'6" tall or taller.
Wow. How do you know
So
they're
I mean,
tumors? Have you had any kind of Rockefeller viewings with whatever machines they can use to see through your skin?
to be quite honest with you, no. I mean, I was fired from my job 2 weeks after I gave them my cancer diagnosis, which I thought was really interesting. And I
Right.
was too weak to find work, so I struck out on my own and started doing my several business ventures on my own.
Yeah.
And then eventually the crypto market turned down, and I had to move in with family and focus more on like e-commerce and other business verticals. And I
So
was
you
transitioning from working for the man to working for myself, and it's been a rough situation money wise. I don't have the funds to go to the doctor. Not that I would want to at all, considering how people are just getting locked up and disappeared inside of these facilities. It's just like,
mm.
I don't want to go anywhere near these places. I mean, these
So
people are
with
not
cancer,
friends.
can't you go on disability because isn't
I
there
don't
a
want
dis?
to. I
Mhm.
don't want a GD thing from the United States government. I don't want anything
Right.
from these people. They're,
So you
I mean,
yeah.
I'm gonna, I'm gonna, kind of sidestep that and make, statements based upon reports from the Russian Ministry of Defense, where they've actually found like chemical bioweapons labs peppered all over Taiwan, all over Ukraine, all over every country that's within earshot of a Russian Caucasus, Central Asian, or European border. So you know, I don't want anything from these people, ever.
Yeah.
Because I was just like, I'm not going to cuck. I'm not going to do this anymore. I'm not going to allow these people to control my life.
All
And
right.
I need to find a way to parlay alliances by any means necessary, because if I do this, then I'm just going to lose credibility, and I wouldn't be able to live with myself, because I can't fight the system by being dependent on it. It's not possible.
Right. But so traditional medicine, have you ever approached it over your lifetime? What
I have, with disastrous results.
yeah.
That's why I stopped doing it. That's why I
What
stopped,
kind
full
of
stop.
things
Because
did traditional medicine have you doing?
vaccinations. I got a flu vaccination in 1999. It was the sickest I've ever been. I was sick
Okay.
for a
So you
month.
had so that is that
But
the only vaccine you know you've had?
yeah, and that's the only vaccine I know I've had, and I've never gotten another one since.
Okay.
That was
How were you
23 years
before
ago.
that health-wise?
I
Like
was okay, but I was kind of sick,
mhm.
and but the messaging was pretty strong, and I was just like, okay, I should probably do this.
Okay, right. Well, we know what
Because
messaging is all about.
somebody on campus died of the flu that semester, and she was a freshman, and she was actually one of my friend's classmates when I was a freshman in college, and it was a really sad time on campus, because this is a creative person, and it was just really hard to fathom that. So I was kind of emotionally driven in that moment,
Right.
and
You got really sick after the flu shot? How long after the flu shot?
pretty much immediately.
Oh, wow. And
But I
how
mean, I
long
wasn't
were
like
you
dead.
mhm.
I was ill for several weeks, but fortunately, it happened while the college I went to has a longer transition between semesters, like between December and early February, and then you take
Oh,
like
I
this
see.
short term in
But
January that's like one class, and you work for an hour a day, and then you just party the rest of the day. for the entire month of January. So I had plenty of time to rest and heal. So.
Right. But before that, were you a sickly child or in general? And did your mom take you to the or to the doctor all the time, or what?
Well, not really, because most of my childhood was spent outside of her custody. I guess I should just go ahead and say it. I was medically kidnapped when I was 11 years old in 1990 and placed in the custody of Colorado State Hospital in El Pueblo Boys Ranch. El Pueblo Boys Ranch was shut down by the state of Colorado in 2018 for valid findings of torture and child abuse after
Oh my
decades of
God.
lawsuits, including at least 3 different lawsuits by the ACLU, where they find that the children were denied food and water, placed in solitary confinement for months, if
Did
not
that happen to you?
years. Yeah, it happened to me.
Oh my God.
I was placed in. I've been in solitary confinement for at least 6 months of my life, if not longer.
So did that probably contributed to your ill health then?
But it also gave me a very, very close education on this clown world we're living in today. Because the first thing they told me in 1990, when I went into this facility, that I would be there for 2 weeks and then I would go home. And I was in that situation for the next 6 years of my life.
But do you want to tell us why you were medically kidnapped and went there, or were you kidnapped into the place or out of the place? I'm confused.
Into the place. And medical kidnapping, the Child Protective Services has these well-documented child trafficking rings all over the United States, and that's just coming out as a result of things like the Epstein disclosures and stuff like that, court cases. But it was a very well-kept secret for years.
But what was
prior to
your
that
reason
time.
for being kidnapped into the place?
The reason was because my mother was stupid enough to take my personal problems with a bully in a schoolyard that was messing with me, and I retaliated to the point of where he couldn't get up. I'll just leave it at that. And I was basically a schoolyard hero, and I was put on detention for a week. And then I wrote a book report on George Washington that I plagiarized word for word, and I won an award. So it's like, these people are just whatever. This is going to be a cakewalk. And then my entire life got turned upside down because apparently that kid had friends that were friends with the sheriffs. And
goodness.
And then it got the attention of this is a small town of 1,000 people in the middle of Dust Bowl, Colorado, in southeastern Colorado. And how I got there, I'm not going to talk about. But basically it got their attention, and then they coerced my mother into giving up custody of me to them, saying, "Oh, you can't afford it. You can't afford to help him." And I wasn't even in the room at the time, and I got up right as she was signing the paper, and I tried to tear him away from her.
Wow.
And then I get to hear a sheriff's deputy say, "Are we gonna have to cuff you, or are you gonna do as you're told?" And then that was the beginning of my nightmare.
Jesus.
Oh my God. So
where
do you think?
I don't want to talk about the rest of it.
Where in the South? I'm curious. Where in southeast Colorado?
It was in a very small town called Springfield, Colorado.
Springfield. Because I grew up in the thriving metropolis of Goodland, Kansas, so I'm fairly familiar with Colorado.
Yeah, so it was southeastern Colorado in Baca County, Colorado. That's where I was.
Okay.
At the time. Baca
you're not
County
that far
Sheriff's
away
Office.
in Kansas.
Yeah, not really. It's within a stone's throw. I mean, it was just a really depressing time in my life too, because there's no shoulder on the highway, and I lived on the side of the highway out in the middle of nowhere in flatlands, and I was 11 years old, coming from like suburban life in the southeast to that was very difficult to adjust to. I remember one day,
did your health go down? Sorry to interrupt. Did your health go downhill once you were in that school, the Pueblo Boys School? Is that when things started to go
Well, it wasn't
poorly
a
for your health?
school. It was basically a privatized child kidnapping and big pharma drug racket.
Yeah, detention center.
School.
Yeah,
it was a prison. It was a prison for children. Yeah,
like a rehabilitation camp.
No, it wasn't rehab camp. This is where they disappeared the kids. Okay, that's the first place.
What's the official title of it?
Right now it's called Colorado Mental Health Institute at Pueblo.
Oh, okay. Because I talked to
Pueblo, Colorado.
We had another guest on my show who her parents sent her to a center for troubled teenagers, and she told us how negative that was.
They're basically their modern day COVID camps. It's Hotel California. Come anytime you want, but you can never leave. And that's what they tried to do. They tried to keep me there forever. And I had to fight a legal battle for 6 years of my life to get the heck out of there after they were caught perjuring themselves to a judge because they extracted a confession from me by coercion. And I had to learn my constitutional rights by reading the Constitution myself. Nobody taught me. I didn't have anybody back me in my guardian at line didn't give a damn because they were making money hand over fist on me. I was basically a source of income for these people. It's like, go F yourselves. My constitutional rights are being violated. I'm going to hold you people accountable. I'm just glad I got out of there, because.
So you were making this legal means?
You broke up a bit, Odd or Vigilante.
So you were making this legal argument when you were like in your upper teens?
I was 16 years old at the time when I made this legal argument. I spoke with the judge in closed chambers and said, Judge, if you've read the Gulag Archipelago, Volume 1, Chapter 1, you know what's going on here. You know exactly what this is. I need to be back with my family. Okay? This is a confession extracted by coercion. It's inadmissible in court. Okay? We have testimony from me that has been corroborated by multiple witnesses that states that I was coerced with witnesses of this coercion. I need your help to get out of this situation, because if I don't get it, I'm never going to get out of this situation, ever. And his name was Judge Keenholt. I don't remember the spelling, but I'll never forget the name for the rest of my life. And he ruled against El Pueblo Boys Ranch. Contempt of court for perjury. Contempt of court for perjury, and ordered me back into my mother's custody with immediate effect. But they appealed that decision to the state where my mother was living at the time, where I eventually ended up, and threw me into another facility for 6 more months. So these people never wanted to get their claws out of me, and it was that moment that I knew that the threats of my freedom were never going to end. And we get to the clown world moment for the last 2+ years, and basically these places were laboratories for the script that we're all witnessing unfold today. So that's why I'm putting this stuff on blast, because this story needs to be told, and it needs to be told as soon as possible.
There it is. Wow, this is crazy.
But I'm trying to get to the source of your illness, though. Obviously, you had a very troubled youth. You were treated badly. When did your health problems start that you have found a cure for, or a treatment?
Well, I've had health problems since pretty much day one, since I had to have eye surgery when I was 2 years old. Moving forward towards balanitis, a bloodborne fungal infection happened when I was 8 or 9 years old.
Any idea what caused that?
If I had known at that time, something would have happened. But it's pretty clear that it was cancer, because when I think about it,
what caused that? What cancer? By my research, and I don't know what your research is, cancer is actually your body trying to cure itself. You don't get cancer. Cancer is a way of your body trying to remove dead tissue that's caused by some other toxicity or poisoning or malnutrition of dying cells, as far as I can tell.
If we're going to get into the nitty-gritty, I can't answer with definitive proof, because that would require a clinical research study that I don't have the money to finance, because I'm basically
it's too far in the past. Anyway, I'm just wondering what they might have told you then. So
most of the information is given to my mother. I wasn't really directly consulted. I was a child, so
right, of course.
Some of it was like, the original thesis was too much sugar consumption. I had an allergy to yeast at one point. Food allergies was another diagnosis. So it was like one thing after another. But fixing one problem, a few years later, there would be another problem, and then another problem, then another problem. And keep in mind, I did everything I could. I stopped drinking alcohol. I worked out like a crazy person. I bought a $4,000 cargo bicycle because I didn't own a car for like 6 years of my 30s. I rode a bicycle everywhere I went. So I was a head turner, and I kind of went to my head a little bit, and I wasn't healthy the entire time. It was continuously getting worse, and I didn't even know it. And it started to become apparent whenever I had like bunions on my toes, which those bunions disappeared entirely when I started doing this treatment. And I don't have I don't stand bow-legged anymore. My feet are pointing straight ahead, and it's not a forced posture. I stand up straight without any type of strain. I mean, I was like a hunchback.
Yeah.
Literally, I was hunched over all the time. Now it's gone now.
Is there
So,
anyone else doing your kind of treatment? Do you have any networks? Are there any official
well, I
electromagnetic treatment people out there that you
I,
get advice from?
I got most of my information through my own research and Dr. Robert O. Becker, who is
Right.
unfortunately no longer with us. He died in 2008. But
Okay.
um, that aside, I have provided my protocol to other people, including my former primary care doctor, who's in another state, and she's going to start using that in her practice. But that's not public information, so I'm not going to say which practice it is. I've also provided the treatment protocol to Amanda Vollmer. I've provided it to
Oh,
David
right.
Avocado Wolf.
Oh,
I've
right.
provided it
What
to
did
David
they say?
Avocado Wolf. Amanda tried it on herself, and she, as I did, got some what appears to be scar tissue, but it's really malformed tissue that's being energetically drawn to the silver and is being disintegrated by the silver. But it does present with scabs and with stuff like this. But I found that if you put some Rick Simpson oil on those areas and bandage it up, it will get rid of the skin surface layer. But really, it's just remnants of tumors or malformed tissue that's being drawn to it. That's my visual understanding of it, based upon the radical transformation that I have made, which, if you see the before and after, is absolutely undeniable. So,
What's Rick Simpson oil?
Rick Simpson oil is a cannabis oil that is made from either indica or sativa dominant strains, and they can either be THC or CBD dominant strains of cannabis. And
I see.
I was introduced to it by a friend of mine, and I got some for free. And it's like, give this a shot. And then I started using it topically on my skin before I found out the silver treatment, and it was getting rid of the surface stuff, but then it would come back. So I was like, okay, I need to start taking this stuff internally instead of just topically. And then I started to do 1 gram of Rick Simpson oil daily, which is a huge dose. It's a dry herb equivalent of about 1/3 of an ounce of cannabis flower. So it's a heavy dose, and it will knock you out, brother. So I did that for about a month and a half straight, along with the silver treatments, and I couldn't afford to re-up. So altogether, I consumed about 90 grams of the oil, but I probably needed to consume even more to get the efficacy, because I wasn't really getting the best efficacy until I found the silver treatment coupled with that, and that really started to accelerate my healing. And now I'm doing maintenance doses of Rick Simpson oil, which is like a pinprick sized drop once a day under the tongue, and then consume my swallowing about a minute later. And then I do the silver treatments whenever time and circumstances allow.
How long do your treatments last when you're putting the $4 silver on you?
They can last from 1 hour if I'm doing them on top of. I try to go for 1 hour if I'm doing like in the treatment room with the massager, because I get faster results that way. But at the end of the day, when I go to sleep, I put them on the back of my head, because I still have some tumors back there. They're still getting disintegrated, and then I'll like position them in my pillow, and then put the electrical lead touching the silver, and then I'll just go to sleep and sleep on top of it, and have all that stuff get purged out of me while I sleep, and then just replace the battery in the water debater as it goes dead periodically over time.
Holy cow! So
It's
how do you
basically
keep
just an
how do you,
on-set
how do you
thing.
keep it touching the silver when it's under your head and you're going to sleep? I mean,
Well, you
don't you
don't
have,
necessarily have to. You don't have to press the electrical lead directly on it. I found that even if you position it perpendicular to the silver, the ions will still be drawn to it, and
oh,
they'll still pass through. Yeah, so it just made it simpler. And then I also found that there's a little piece of like this rubber sealed conduit that goes up to the electrical lead, and I noticed that with an older one that I had that broke, it can erode. So I use this automotive tape called rescue tape, which is a self-adhering type of electrical tape that's much better and stronger than electrical tape. It's got a tensile strength of like 5,000 pounds per square inch. So it's really strong. You can actually seal transmission lines in a vehicle with it. So it's an automotive rescue tool. And I've used it to seal like leaky pipes in the winter, to sealing transmission cooler lines in the fly that busted open for whatever reason. So
Wow.
I was like, okay, I'll grab this out of my car, and I reinforced that piece of it with that because it's a slight design flaw in the device. And other than that, it's vanilla. It's like the original equipment.
That's amazing. So, all right,
All right.
Chris,
Interesting.
how would people, if there are people watching, how would they get in touch with you, or how could they get in touch with you?
They can.
Or do you want
Well,
people to
I'm
get
there's
in touch with you?
yeah, that's fine. I mean, that they can directly message me on Telegram. My handle's Chris_Lundy. You can message me there. You can also go to the Activists Toolbox Telegram channel. Activists Toolbox is a business I'm a partner in with my cousin Jamie Turek, who's originally from the UK. He's living in Portugal right now.
Wow.
With his girlfriend, and he's operating the business out of his van. He offered me a partnership with the business, and we sell de-Googled phones, Linux laptops, as well as marine grade water distillers,
Oh, wow. Is that the
Wi-Fi router
graphene
Faraday
operating
cages.
system?
Yeah, we don't use Graphene OS on the phones. We use Lineage OS because it has a lot wider compatibility. But for individual customers that would prefer to have Graphene or Calyx, we can load that on there for you if you
What do
want.
you recommend? Because I know a lot of people that are sort of interested in that. It's a pretty good product.
If you have a Google Pixel, I think Calyx OS is the way to go because it has better long-term support, especially
Okay.
for older devices. They have a lot of continuous development if you got a Google Pixel. If you just got a regular vanilla phone of various manufacturers, Lineage OS is what I choose the most, and the reason why I choose Lineage OS is because it has the widest device compatibility, because both Graphene OS and Calyx OS only work on Google Pixel phones.
Oh,
If you want to
okay.
use any other phone, you pretty much have to use Lineage OS if it's free open source operating systems.
Yeah, I hear the boys at the No Agenda show talk about that, so there is interest in
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, and I did a lot of consultation with Jamie on this. I mean, my background is in cybersecurity. It's in technology
Oh,
as well
nice.
as music. I have my own custom built Eurorack rig. I've got analog synthesizers for days. You know, so my real, you know, gift to the world isn't this, it's music. That's what I'm really good at. I mean, this is just something that I happened to come across and save my own life, you know.
Nice.
It's it's an amazing discovery, and it was actually something that was already out there. And why is this not front page news? Why aren't people talking about Robert O. Becker's research as it relates to this mess we're in? It's absolutely criminal that this isn't being discussed.
What do you think
And
is
they can't,
happening?
they can't shut it up because it's an actual accredited medical doctor who's the head of orthopedics at a state institution in New York State. So the virtue signalers don't have a leg to stand on,
Mm-hmm.
and they can say whatever they want, you know. But at the end of the day, whose side are you on? And I'm on the side of people that are trying to heal. You know, they're looking for a solution. Because I mean, I don't have clinical evidence of this, but I can tell you this: my Aunt Martha has used it a few times, on a volunteer basis with a few of her clients and our friends. And one of her clients was a nurse at Valley Health, which is a huge health conglomerate up in like Virginia, Pennsylvania area, Maryland. Northern Virginia especially, and so she got double jabbed by her employer under threat of coercion and losing her job, and she eventually ended up quitting anyway because she got so sick from these inoculations,
Yeah, that's
and
the
had
thing.
blood clots for days in her lungs. After a 1 hour treatment on her sternum, she said that she felt her chest open back up, and she goes back in for X-rays, and there's no more blood clots.
Oh, that's good.
So
Wow.
So that was amazing because I did some other research. I can't find the paper. I'm 100% sure that I found research that showed that electrified silver ions destroy graphene oxide on contact. That's the only
Wow.
logical explanation I can come up with. Because if that's the case, then
And
not only does this put the lie to everything else that's being done right now, but it forces accountability because this
Mhm.
is already documented medical literature. It's already there, and you know, there's nothing they can do to shut us up now because it's also published in Cross Currents and the Body Electric. I recommend everybody that's listening to this show get a copy of Robert O. Becker's books, Cross Currents and the Body Electric. You can get them on archive.org for free. I'll post them in Telegram, and you can share them around.
Yeah, I
But,
think I've heard of the Body Electric.
yeah, both of those books are absolutely essential reading. I just started reading them myself, but I've got a lot of irons in the fire with Activist's Toolbox, and the link to Activist Toolbox is t.me/Activists Toolbox official, or t.me/Activists Toolbox. But I can provide the link to Uncle V.
Activists plural, right?
Yep, yeah, and the website is activiststoolbox.com. I'm a article contributor there. We're going to be getting an article published to the Light Paper, which is a anti-corruption, I guess, newspaper, if you will, or publication based out of the United Kingdom. And I have my first contacts on Telegram are in the UK, so I have a lot of UK-based contacts.
And one of you guys, we have someone in the chat saying, "Who is Avocado Wolf?" This is the fourth time I've heard his name mentioned. Max has helped David plant lots of trees across this world. Can you guys?
It's David Avocado Wolf. He's everywhere. He's on Twitter. He's on Telegram. You can just type his name and you'll find him.
Yeah, he
He's
also
the king of memes.
plugs. Yeah, he plugs Activists Toolbox in his group as well.
That's
So
good.
yeah, you'll find some Activist Toolbox ads in there for our I think the distillery one got posted today.
What do you think is happening in the world with this whole vaccine stuff? I don't know how big it is where you are, but
Well, I don't call it that. I call it an inoculation because nobody can say whether or not it's an inoculation because the wordsmithing of these psychopaths never ends. And well, my take on it is it's the biggest power grab in the history of the world disguised as a health crisis.
right?
And which explains all the extreme shifts in the price of gasoline and this very deliberate and very clearly orchestrated war with Russia. We are dealing with people that have no regard for human life and that are actively on purpose trying to reduce the population by their own admission. So, all you have to do is use their own words that are published to their own channels on their own TED Talks. But you can't point that out because, as Voltaire said, you ever want to find out who rules over you, find out who you're not allowed to criticize.
Mm-hmm.
But I stand with Leonardo da Vinci in this context. And Leonardo da Vinci stated that if you find through your own experience that something is a fact, and it contradicts what some authority figure has written down, you must abandon the authority and base your reasoning on your own findings. This is Leonardo da Vinci. So all of these experts can go pound sand as far as I'm concerned. Because the real people in this world that have solved real problems thought outside the box and made these discoveries on their own. And I'm not comparing myself to anybody. What I am saying is that people of conscience, that they aren't, plagued with banality. They're not for sale, So that's where I'm coming from.
True Babylonian bastards, baby.
Yeah. Well, it's been about an hour. It's been very interesting. I put the links. I already grabbed the Telegram channel link and put it in the show notes. Any closing comments?
Activiststoolbox.com. And the shop is activiststoolbox.com shop. One thing I want for myself, which I haven't gotten for myself yet, is the Mega Home Deluxe 316 water distiller. It's marine grade, and that's something you want to get for any boats you might have there, Uncle V, because this stuff can distill seawater and make it drinkable in an emergency scenario. Yeah, you want to get yourself a marine grade distiller because these people all the stuff they're spraying in the sky is bound to be causing significant amounts of toxicity in the water. You've got to get your water distilled. I only drink distilled water. That's all I drink now because, I have to assume that every water source is contaminated unless I have evidence to prove the contrary.
Mm-hmm.
So they've got 3 distillers, a Mega Home Deluxe water distiller. You can put seawater in this one, or?
Yeah, the 316 marine grade with the glass jug is the only one that's marine grade. So make sure that you look at the marine grade one. If you're in an area surrounded by if you're on the Gulf of Mexico or you're on the East Coast or you're on the West Coast or if you're near the Irish Sea or the North Sea or wherever it is that you are near a sea, you want yourself marine grade stuff or else, you're not really going to be able to use it fully.
Wow. Interesting.
Yeah, so it's very useful and very inexpensive compared to U.S.-based supply sources. And I need to ask the supplier what they do for U.S.-based electricity, but most of the time you just use a converter. That's what I do with anything I get from the UK.
So this is made in the
based on
UK.
UK power. Yeah, it's made in the UK. But yeah, I mean, it's just amazing the manufacturers that are based in the UK that are hand making this stuff and they're bringing this stuff to market. Now, I don't know Mega Home's backstory, but I just discovered this company, and my business partner Jamie found them before I did. But you know, even by U.S. price standards, it's significantly less expensive than just this off-the-shelf Amazon stuff, and it's less expensive and marine grade. It's a no-brainer. You got to get this stuff, guys.
Wow, interesting.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's 9:05. Let's wrap this up.
Yeah.
I can tell my wife got home by the dogs barking, so I'm going to go say hello.
Okay, good on you.
But Chris, thank you. It was a pleasure having you on and listening to your backstory, and congratulations on the turn of events. I mean, thank goodness, man.
Is Chris in the Epic Cash community? Is that where you met?
I met through private group, but I was aware of Epic Cash around the time I met Uncle V, so I was aware.
Okay, very good.
Yeah,
we can talk crypto some other time. You want to have me back?
You got it, bro. Okay, Ab, great talking with you as always.
Nice chatting with you, Uncle V. All the best.
Change.
And thanks to I'll try not. Right. Thanks, Chris. All the best. I hope you have continued good luck and good health.
Love and light, gentlemen.
Yes.
All right.
Cheers.
Take care. Take care, everybody. Thank you, Uncle V. Thank you, Chris. Interesting show. We do this show Sunday through Thursday around 8:30. This has been a power-packed week of guests. We should look at the live and see who's on tomorrow. What's tomorrow? Oh, tomorrow I have Mark Paralovis of Canadian. Oh, I can't remember the name of his website right now. He's a returning guest, and we're going to talk about Canadian information, what's going on here in Ontario with whatever is next in our march to digital ID and post-nation state and vaccine passports and all that kind of stuff. It's still going on. I still am maintaining the blog. I just posted James Corbett's War on Terror hoax. I put War of Terror. That's a autocorrect. It should be War on Terror hoax, Al-Qaeda. Even though James promotes some 9/11, what I consider disinfo, this pretty good comprehensive history of Al-Qaeda. He just points out the absurdity in the story. It's all lies. It's pretty obvious. So yeah, that is a worthwhile thing to watch. And don't forget fakotube.com. I put a very interesting interview with a doula about the medical industry and how they corral you into doing things that you probably shouldn't do if you're giving birth. So that was fascinating. I put another video today on Eisenhower's Rhine Meadow death camps from World War II, which is probably the part of the history that they don't want you to know. And of course, Human Vibration was yesterday, getting lots of views right now, thanks to her audience. And September Clues is at the top of the site. It's still getting tons of views. 25 people watching right now. 25,000 people, 5,000 people have watched it in the last week through this website, so that's great. So thanks to Epic Cash for sponsoring FakoTube. Thanks to you guys for sending your support for FakoTube. We are now on three continents, so FakoTube is mirrored, so it should be much faster. So thanks to all your support. It does cost money, and I appreciate you guys helping out. fakeologist.com/donate. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Thanks for joining, and take care.